HD TV on the wall. Who's the fairest one?
To address the elephant in the room. I'm the hottest person in the world.
It's the most emotional experience that a person can go through to know that what they're working on is something that has reached a generation of people.
The moment the Simpsons episode Snowwoke, the Reimagining aired, Hollywood insiders claim Rachel Zegler's phone nearly exploded. The longest-running satire on television had just dropped what many called its most brutal celebrity parody in years.
Excuse me, your curtain. Please allow me to help.
Help? From you?
I didn't mean to offend. I just thought you should know that
That I should know what? That some privileged white guy thinks his opinion matters? Get over your entitlement. I'm not some damsel in distress waiting for you to ride in on your high horse.
Oh my God.
And everyone knew exactly who they were targeting. A fictional princess with flowing dark hair, lecture-ready monologues about feminism.
You know, I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it. You didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White.
Right.
You should shut up and do the job.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business. Thanks.
And a movie that bombed harder than anyone imagined. It wasn't subtle, it was savage. And according to sources close to the situation, Rachel Zegler was absolutely furious. Within hours, the episode went viral. Social media exploded with side-by-side comparisons of Rachel's actual Snow White interviews next to the cartoon parody. Millions watched as crusty network executives collapsed in mock junkets, begging the fictional princess to please stop talking.
Ordinary apple, my dear. It's a magic wishing apple. A wishing apple? You offer it to me freely. In place of the patriarchy, you would have a queen!
I would highly advise that you boycott this film, no matter how much your children love Snow White.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
Just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
Not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can.
The message was clear. The Simpsons hadn't just parodied a performance. They'd crystallized a moment when America's patience with celebrity lecturing had finally run out. And Rachel Zegler was their prime example. But how did we get here? How did a rising star handpicked by Steven Spielberg himself go from Hollywood's next golden girl to animation's most brutal punchline? The answer isn't just about Snow White. It's about what happens when Hollywood miscalculates just how far they can push beloved classics before audiences push back. Just 3 years ago, Rachel Zegler seemed unstoppable. Fresh off her breakout role in Spielberg's West Side Story, the young actress with the powerhouse voice was quickly crowned Hollywood's newest darling. When Disney announced she would lead their live-action Snow White remake, it should have been her crowning achievement, the role that would cement her place among Disney royalty for decades to come. Industry insiders described the initial excitement around her casting as electric. Disney saw her as the total package, one source revealed. The voice, the look, the emotional depth. She had everything they wanted for a modern Snow White. Marketing teams began planning merchandise lines, theme park appearances, and a global rollout that would rival their biggest princess launches. The studio reportedly invested over $200 million in production, convinced they had another billion-dollar franchise on their hands. What no one predicted was that the biggest threat to Snow White's success wouldn't come from production delays, budget overruns, or even competition at the box office. It would come from Snow White herself, specifically from the words that would leave Rachel Zegler's mouth every time she sat down for an interview.
I'm gonna stand there 18 hours. Yeah. Weird. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
The trouble began innocently enough. During early press for the film, Rachel was asked about reimagining such an iconic character. Rather than offering the typical actor response about being honored to join Disney's legacy, she went in an unexpected direction. "The original cartoon is pretty weird when you think about it," she said, visibly uncomfortable. "I think I watched it once and never picked it up again."
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up.
Fans raised eyebrows, but many defended her. After all, the 1937 film does contain dated elements, but then came the bombshell interview that would haunt her for years. When discussing the Prince character, Rachel didn't mince words. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her, she said with obvious distaste. Yeah, weird. In the same interview, she insisted the new Snow White wasn't dreaming about true love, but rather dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be. Disney executives reportedly panicked behind closed doors. This wasn't the message they'd approved. While the film did modernize certain elements, completely dismissing the romance that millions of fans cherished wasn't part of the marketing strategy. According to one insider, frantic calls were made to Rachel's team. They basically begged her to tone it down, to find something positive to say about the original. But it was too late. The damage was done. Rather than backing off, each new interview seemed to dig the hole deeper. Social media clips of Rachel explaining how this Snow White would be different spread like wildfire. Comment sections filled with viewers questioning why someone who seemed to actively dislike the source material would accept the role in the first place. YouTubers began making compilation videos of her most controversial statements, some reaching millions of views. The backlash wasn't just from traditionalists. Even those who welcomed modern updates to the story found Rachel's approach unnecessarily dismissive. There's a difference between updating a classic and trashing it. One viral comment read, "She's doing the latter and expecting us to thank her for it." Fast forward to the moment that changed everything, the Simpsons episode that would become infamous overnight. Snowwoke, the Reimagining, wasn't just another celebrity parody, it was a surgical strike at the heart of what many viewed as Hollywood's disconnect from audiences. The episode featured a princess character clearly modeled after Rachel, who interrupts every press junket question with condescending lectures about dismantling patriarchal narratives. "I'm not here to be loved, I'm here to lead," the cartoon princess declares to a visibly uncomfortable Krusty the Clown, who mutters into his earpiece, "Why didn't anyone tell me we cast someone with a podcast?" The parody didn't stop there. It showed the fictional princess's movie bombing spectacularly at the box office, theaters sitting empty while executives panic. In one particularly brutal scene, the princess character melts down on a talk show, shouting at the audience for misunderstanding her genius before tripping over a pile of fairy tale books she had previously declared problematic. What made the satire so devastating wasn't just its humor, it was its accuracy. The Simpsons writers hadn't needed to exaggerate Rachel's statements. They simply repackaged them in cartoon form, holding up a mirror to what many viewers had been thinking for months. Social media comment sections exploded. They didn't make this up, they summarized. According to multiple sources, Rachel's reaction was immediate and intense. One insider claims she contacted her team the moment clips started circulating online, demanding they reach out to Fox executives to have the episode pulled, or at least her character edited out. She was completely blindsided, says a source close to the situation. She'd been dealing with online trolls for months, but this was different. This was mainstream mockery from one of the most iconic shows in television history. Fox reportedly refused her request outright. Not only had the episode already aired, but it was protected under satire laws. And perhaps more importantly, it was generating massive viewership numbers. Clips dominated social feeds, with one YouTube compilation reaching over 5 million views in just 48 hours. The studio had no intention of censoring themselves, especially for content that was resonating so strongly with audiences. What followed was perhaps the most telling part of the saga: total silence. For someone who had been so outspoken during the Snow White press tour, Rachel's complete disappearance from social media spoke volumes. No tweets, no Instagram stories, no statements through representatives, just a deafening absence that, according to PR experts, didn't read as strategic restraint, but rather as retreat. When The Simpsons makes you a punchline, you have two options, explains one crisis management consultant who asked to remain anonymous. You either lean into it with self-deprecating humor, or you wait it out. Rachel chose option 2, but in today's 24/7 media environment, silence doesn't make controversy disappear. It just gives everyone else control of the narrative. As Rachel went silent, Hollywood's machinery shifted behind the scenes. Sources within Disney's marketing division reveal that plans for any remaining Snow White promotion involving Rachel were quietly scrapped. She became untouchable overnight, says one insider. Scheduled appearances canceled, panel invites pulled, even the digital ad push shifted focus to visual effects and costumes, her name carefully, almost surgically removed from the conversation. The fallout extended far beyond just one project. Multiple PR firms across Hollywood reportedly began using Rachel's case as an internal training example. When authenticity becomes arrogance, read one slide from a media workshop. Casting directors, typically the first to forgive and forget in an industry built on second chances, seemed hesitant to associate with the controversy. "We'll circle back once the air clears," one Netflix producer allegedly told a showrunner considering Rachel for an upcoming series. She's still radioactive. Another major franchise, which had considered her for a supporting role in a young adult adaptation, quietly removed her name from their shortlist. What makes the situation particularly tragic, according to those who've worked with her, is that no one questions Rachel's talent. Her voice, acting abilities, and screen presence remain undisputed. What's in question is everything surrounding the performance. The perception, the backlash, the seemingly constant controversy that follows her public appearances. Hollywood loves a comeback. One executive summed it up, but you can't come back until people want you to. And right now, they don't. If the industry fallout was painful, the internet's reaction was absolutely merciless. Within hours of the episode airing, clips flooded TikTok. Audio from the parody was repurposed into trending sounds. Edits appeared showing side-by-sides of real Zegler interviews mashed up with the cartoon version's over-the-top monologues. The most shared line, "I'm not here to be loved, I'm here to lead. When I get married, I'm keeping my own name," was dubbed by users as the final boss of girl bossing. And it wasn't meant as a compliment. YouTube reaction channels, many of which had already criticized Rachel during the Snow White rollout, now had fresh ammunition. One viral video titled, "The Simpsons Just Did What Disney Wouldn't," racked up over 3 million views in just 48 hours. Then it got worse. An old viral hoax resurfaced, a fake account allegedly using AI-generated images of Rachel. Though quickly debunked in the chaos of the parody backlash, thousands believed it was real. Memes exploded across Reddit and Twitter. Even after being disproven, the rumor stuck like glue. Not because it was true, but because the public narrative around Rachel had become so toxic that even the absurd seemed plausible. At this point, it wasn't about facts anymore. It was about feeling. Rachel had become the stand-in for everything certain fans felt frustrated about in modern Hollywood: perceived arrogance, disrespect for classic characters, and stars who seemed to lecture rather than entertain. Every past statement was now ammunition, every silence interpreted as weakness. One viral comment summed up the sentiment: "The internet doesn't hate Rachel Zegler, it's just done giving her chances." Not long ago, Rachel Zegler was the industry's golden girl, Spielberg's chosen one with a voice that lit up West Side Story and a future seemingly paved in gold. She was meant to be Disney's next great princess, a new face for a new generation. Now, according to multiple industry sources, her name no longer opens doors. It closes them. Projects she was once attached to are quietly shifting direction.